Hello everyone, my name is Zach Kenney from ZK Painting, and this is episode 25 of ZK Live. It's Sunday night. I just got back to my shop. We're going to talk about the new spray booth that's in. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk about a couple of the projects that we're on. We're going to talk about the eco project that we've been struggling with paint. We're going to get into dew point and how it relates to paint drying. It should be interesting. It was a very long week, one of the more stressful weeks I've had. What's going on, Business Brush Podcast? So it was definitely a trying week when paint doesn't dry the way you want it to and you bang your head up against the wall. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about painting application, but I also learned a lot about continue to learn about mindset and how important mindset is in running a business. Every business and everyone is going to have difficulties. Mindset, I think, is really important to how you overcome those issues, how you even see them, and then what you do about it. I was able to stay positive, keep getting things done, even when there were many days, many hours of a few days this week where I was feeling pretty defeated. But thanks to the network of people here on social media, I was able to learn some stuff. It was somewhat cathartic to just, share everything, share stuff. I had to really hold back from sharing my feelings in the moment on a couple days because it probably wouldn't have been good overall, but we made it through. While I was having issues spraying eco on a job site, I had another job site that's going amazingly and a great team of people who are applying Holland Lac or getting ready to. I also had a massive investment in my spray booth get completed. Friday they finished everything up. I couldn't be more excited. It's sort of surreal to even think that we have a makeup air unit now on the booth. We have 3 extra feet in the booth. We have a 27-foot long booth now. We have a swamp cooler on the roof. We have the ability to cool the air coming in. We have the ability to heat the air coming in. We also have the ability to bake our finishes in the side of the booth. All very exciting things. We also have the ability to create a positive air pressure within our booth. This is going to really reduce a lot of the dust issues. Can everybody hear me all right? I'm assuming that this mic is working, but I haven't heard anyone say you can't hear me. I literally just I drove straight here from Vermont. I dropped my wife off at home and headed to the shop to do this podcast because I found out from the editor that my AC unit at my house was making too much noise and it was distracting, to say the least, on the podcast. So I will no longer be recording podcasts from my house on Sunday nights. I'll be making the trek to the shop. It's nice to sit below this logo, but it's much better to have good audio for later. I'm really enjoying this podcast. It's been good for me to practice talking about stuff that's going on. I really enjoy podcasts myself. I'm always looking for input on how to make it better. I'm looking to spend some more time this next week or two to look at sort of my social media stuff and figure out how I can get better. Because I've sort of just been doing this thing and not spending a lot of time analyzing it. And I'm going to be considering doing some sort of a full-scale production of this whole thing and not just an intern trying to keep up with everything that we're doing. And one of his tasks is to edit this, like Brushworks said. Spotify doesn't have all the podcasts. I'm going to look into that. It could just be that Kyle hasn't gotten them all up there yet. But he has a lot on his plate. We crossed 400,000 followers on TikTok today, which is crazy. I had 2 seltzers left in my refrigerator at the shop. One of them was a black cherry from Waterloo. I would give it a B. It's good, but it's no key lime pie from LaCroix or grape from Waterloo. I had a number of people submit questions. Brushworks was one of them. Bresson had a question. Paint School had a question. We'll get into all those. I spent the weekend at my in-laws. Well, not at my in-laws. At my wife's aunt and uncle's house, because we had to we couldn't be inside the house with my wife's parents. Her dad is immunocompromised. He's been diagnosed with cancer, so we're helping take care of him. But so we were in Vermont for the weekend. I drove past Oracle Fine Finishes on the way up, took a picture of the truck and posted it. And I was just driving back from Vermont, and I drove past him again on the way home. So that guy's out there. I don't know if he's watching, but yeah, that was cool. He has a question on here. So yeah, it was a roller coaster of a week. Some extreme highs and extreme lows. I got a check from a project that we completed 9 months ago. For me, like a really large check that I had been waiting on this final invoice for over 9 months. We completed the job just before Christmas, and I had been calling every 2 to 3 weeks following up. And every time the GC would tell me, like, the client said he's going to have a check coming in and you'll be paid on this date in like 2 weeks in the future or a week in the future. I would wait past that date a week. I would call him again. The guy, he was nice and he was honest. He's like, I talked to him. He said the check's coming in. He said it's going to come on this day. That went on for 9 months straight. And out of the blue, I got a phone call on Thursday. So, you know, if you listen to and read enough business books and people who are in the business world, they'll tell you that a huge part to staying in business is patience, and success in business is patience. And that it's very tough to fail if you never give up. Sometimes you just should and restart, but it's tough to fail if you never give up and you keep getting and you keep getting better every day. If you keep getting better every day and you keep showing up, you know, time is on your side. That's what I think Nassim Taleb would call anti-fragile. And we're always trying to be anti-fragile in life and in business. So mindset, I think, is a huge part of that. And I'm grateful. I called one of my mentors this week and I just thanked him. I was like, hey, a lot of the things that you've been saying to me paid off this week. In a way that I was able to overcome adversity, not let it get me down, and still, you know, I was able to like be positive, even though there's this feeling of like, man, that day was rough, but not letting it get me down. And like, tomorrow was a new day. You know, Tuesday was a really tough day, and Wednesday was a new day, and that idea of not giving up and having patience and doing the work and then having the patience, you know, it was my first time working with this GC, and my gut and we had a time and materials contract that we far exceeded. We were 6 figures on this project. We had a $30,000 time and materials contract. So I didn't have a contract to back my final invoice up. It just kept evolving, and I made a mistake, and I didn't go back to him and get a new contract. So, but the moral of the story, so the guy, I trusted him. Like I did trust the GC, and I never got angry, and I was frustrated, but I never showed it, because that's not a very valuable negotiation tactic. I don't think, getting mad and being angry and emotional. So. And it was really hard. I'm not going to lie. It was difficult for a long time. There was many days where I would drive by that job or near that job and not want to drive by it, because I would just like, oh, I want to go. What's this client doesn't even care about paying? Like, oh, like, you know, but I just stayed positive. I kept doing what I could do. I kept my side of the street clean. I kept running the company. I kept my head down. I didn't go away. In the past, when I was like not good at life, when I first started this company and I was not good in a good place, I would have just like cowered away. And because I wouldn't have been confident to say, hey, I earned this money, please pay me. Like I used to be very weird about getting what I was probably worth, and I undersold myself a lot. And if the final check didn't come, I would just like cower away. So I was able to like actually just keep making the phone call with a positive spirit, like, hey man, like, how's it going? Is that check coming? Fairly regularly. The GC will tell you, I called him a lot, and every time he was positive too, and he gave me an honest answer of what he thought was going to happen. It didn't end up happening until it did, but I was able to like not let it ruin my day. Eventually, it became like, I don't even know if this is going to happen, but it was going to be gravy when that check finally ever did come. And it was just like, okay, that's a lesson learned. Maybe that's a very expensive lesson to learn, but at the worst case, it's going to be a lesson I learned. And it won't go any farther than that. It won't be worse than that. It doesn't mean I'm a horrible person. It doesn't mean I should quit. Like, it just meant that I could learn from this, and next time, don't get caught. And I think the mindset stuff like that comes with, for some people, maybe it just comes completely natural and you don't have to think about it. But I think for most of us, you have to like do the work. You have to read and educate and surround yourself with top performers to understand how important mindset is, and then how to understand what mindset should I be trying to take, what approach should I be trying to take, what is the proper mindset for certain situations. And I don't know, I'm just not certain that comes without having to learn it. And I'm not sure that for a long time I even understood that it was something I should be trying to learn. But more than anything else, I think mindset is the most valuable resource or agent of positive change in my life has been my mindset. So I would encourage anyone out there who struggles, and we all have struggles. Like, everyone has negative stuff happen in the business and in their life, but your mindset determines how you see that and what you end up doing about it at the end of the day. Because we can control, and we have to let the rest go. So I'm really grateful that I have positive influences in my life. That there's a wealth. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a bunch of books that have been written by people, and those people spent a lot of time researching topics and ideas and then condensing them down into a single book that you and I can buy for a nominal amount of money and then consume. That is profound. Like, we are so lucky that we live in a time where we have access to the information that we have access to. It's on us to now go get it and consume it and do something with it. But man, it's anything you want at your fingertips. And I'm really grateful for that. I know that, and it makes my life better every day, living in the time that I live with all of that knowledge and wisdom that has come before me to be in books. So I'm not sure who Michael Osorino is. But yeah, so that was it was definitely a tough week. So in hindsight on this eco project, there's a number of things. Yes, I'm a big fan of meditations. I've read it a couple times and continue to. I get the emails from thedailystoic.com, I think it is. You get those great. One day I'll write a book. We'll see. I love podcasts. I started a podcast. I love books. Maybe one day we'll write a book. Just anytime you can go learn from others and not have to make the mistakes yourself. There's a lot of my life where I didn't do that, and I'm practicing and trying really hard. And in certain areas of my life, it's easier than others. And I think the best, most successful people will tell you, and everyone's probably heard about being comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's, boy, is it easier to say than actually do. But that idea of working the muscle of being uncomfortable. My business coach, if you will, my mentor, in our conversation was like, you're what's going to stop you from getting from where you are today to the next level. Who you hang out with, the information you digest, but mostly doing the things that you're not comfortable doing today. And I know he's right. I need to continue to improve on doing the things that make me uncomfortable. And that's a mindset change. I had that conversation with him, and I might have known in the back of my head, but like, you surround yourself with the right people, and magically this stuff just keeps popping up. So there's some stuff on my plate. There's some things that have not been as big a priorities that I'm going to keep working to love as much. I'm going to try to work on loving spreadsheets and the numbers behind my business as much as I love the coding application. It started with coding application. That's what I loved. That's why I got into painting. That's what I loved. Through a lot of pain, I was able to develop a appreciation for and now a love for sales and marketing. So I thought sales and marketing was like the devil for a long time. But sales and marketing became something where I was able to get uncomfortable and learn, and get uncomfortable and learn, to the point where now I love it. Like, that's my new safe place, is the painting and the sales and marketing. And my next sort of level up is going to have to come around the numbers and the business side. If I want to go from 800,000 to 4 million, and if I want to put, a significant amount of money in my pocket as a business owner, I'm going to have to change who I am and what gets me going, and grow and have a much different mindset than I have today. And it's just so much, it's always easier to do what you love and what comes easy. And at first that was painting, and then it became sales and marketing. And now I want to, I had that talk with John, and it was like, oh, that's what I need to do. Like, I need to start to find a love for the numbers behind the business. I was not blessed with it. I'll tell you that. I am not blessed with a love for the numbers. But anyone successful in business will tell you it's a key piece. And so that's what I'm going to be working on. But let's get into the questions. I definitely had a long week and a long weekend. I got to do some gestalt painting. That's my wife and I's new favorite term for painting where the details aren't really that important. Gestalt, I think, is defined by the sum of the parts being greater than the whole, or something like that. You can Google the definition of gestalt. But anytime someone says the overall gestalt, Adam Carolla will tell you that that's not proper use of the word gestalt, I believe. So it's essentially, we were painting some things just like my patio, where the little tiny corners and the cut-in lines on the corners are not nearly as important as the overall big picture. So I got to just get out some emerald exterior satin, a mini roller, and a stinger brush. Actually, I've been meaning to talk about that. If you haven't seen those stinger brushes, they have like a little tip on the end of the brush. And it's just a little bit longer than the actual rest of the brush. They sent me those. I met the owner. He's a nice guy. I didn't give him a fair shake. I'll tell you, like, they're not, like, the concept seemed a little hokey to me. I will tell you, for the project that I was working on, it came in incredibly handy. And I feel really bad that I didn't stop to document that enough. Because those stinger brushes, I think they do have a place. I was painting behind handrails, where the handrail attaches, and there's a handrail that runs here. I was painting the beam that runs behind them. And I can tell you that it was significantly easier to cut in around that bracket because I had a longer tip on my angled sash brush. So I've been a skeptic of stinger brushes. I don't think that they're as gimmicky as I probably thought they were before. It definitely came in really handy. If you're just cutting a straight room in, like, it's probably not that handy. But anytime you need to stick the tip in and get in where it's not easy, having a little bit longer tip to the brush definitely came in handy. But I got to go out there. I haven't sanded with those low of grits and left it in a long time. I took 80 grit and sanded existing painted stuff and sanded some pressure treated wood. My wife and I both did. Sarah and I both had 80 grit out there, and we just left it. I sanded it with 80 grit and I put paint over the top, and it was awesome. Like, it was freeing. I did those handrails, they're metal handrails. I took 120 grit sandpaper and I sanded a bunch of like rusted spots. They're starting to bleed through. They were like smooth, nice metal before. 120 grit, dusted them off. I took aerosol cans from Sherwin-Williams and sprayed them away. And there's definitely some sags. Not very many, but there's a few curtains, subtle ones. It's gray paint. You're not going to see it. The handrails, the gestalt of this project, it's beautiful. It got the job done while I was at my in-laws for the weekend, with minimal effort. It was freeing. We don't do that kind of painting, and right now, it doesn't mean I won't, but right now we don't do that kind of painting. And that idea to be like, well, it was not white and now it's white, looks freaking awesome. Client's thrilled, right? They paid that invoice instantly. Actually, it was a $0 invoice, so they were like right on it. Yeah. So back from Vermont, ready for next week. I'm gonna probably sleep on this eco project. We have some stuff to do. I gotta figure out when we're gonna get back there to do it. Probably, I'm debating. I gotta look at some stuff, but I'm probably not gonna be using. Is this a class? This is my first day. Paint Wizards. This is a painting podcast. I answer questions, and I just talk about what's on my mind. So feel free to ask questions down there. There's a little question mark button you can push, and I will answer to the best of my ability. But I think you fail. I think we're going to end up probably getting out the Assisted Airless, the new Wagner pump that we just got, because the Kremlin's in the shop. I'm heavily leaning toward getting out the Assisted Airless to spray the Eco on these last two panels. I may sacrifice a little bit of finish quality as far as smoothness. The Airless does probably lay out a little bit better. But the added control and the faster dry time with an Assisted Airless is probably going to be worth it. So look for that. If I had to say right now, we're going to be using our Assisted Airless. It'll be the first time using it. The Wagner GM 4700 gun, I've heard a ton of amazing things about. Ty Crowder, who will be on here Tuesday, sent me the gun. He told me all about it. He told me all the reasons why it's better than the golden gun from Kremlin. So I am very excited to try it. But more than anything, I'm excited to finish this freaking black eco project and leave these clients in peace. This has been a difficult job with difficult environment to spray in, with the weather being the way it is. And I would argue the most difficult paint to spray I've ever sprayed. If you guys can name me a product that's more difficult to get a high level finish on than Fine Paints of Europe Eco, I'd love to hear it. But in my experience, we have strayed away from Eco as a company since I first got certified. We just use very little Eco, especially with the sprayer. We try to use oil anytime. The clients are phenomenal. The clients could not be better. But getting Eco to lay out the way that I want it to is difficult. Now, I can get it. We can get it with a little bit of orange peel, and it still looks good. But I want that Holland Lac finish with Eco, and to do that with verticals, and to do it with black, and to do it 2 stories up on big panels has proven to be very difficult. So I'm going to do some soul searching. I know Steph loves spraying Eco. We'll have to talk this week, Steph. But I need to achieve a metal-like smooth finish, and it's black, and it shows everything, and if I don't get it to lay out, so we'll see. Maybe I just get an incredibly dry day and we're good to go. But I put 20% General Finishes Accelerator. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I posted a story about it. Did I post a post as well? I think just a story. General Finishes makes Extender. It's the best, it's like a high quality Floetrol. I would highly recommend not using Floetrol in your paint. It's an additive that actually adds a bunch of other stuff to your paint, not just extending the time. It takes it dry. But General Finishes makes Extender. It's a phenomenal product. They also make Accelerator. Sorry, I didn't turn Wi-Fi calling off, and so phone calls are gonna pause this. Oh, John. So the other thing I might do is just get a 5,000 CFM or whatever those massive shop fans, and plug them in and just blow them up on this house. I'm that desperate at this point. It was just maddening. Forget where I was there. But the Assisted Airless is going to give me it's much easier to spray verticals with an Assisted Airless. It's just harder to get the same exact finish as you get spraying horizontal with an airless with water-based coatings. In hindsight, someone asked me, what would I do? The GC actually has another job just like this. He's like, we're supposed to do it. And he's like, what are we supposed to do? And I have been racking my brain on that. And I think that Holland Lac is probably the way to go. You can add a bunch of lacquer thinner to Holland Lac, spray it with the Air Assisted Airless or a gravity fed gun, and not have to worry about sags. The way that the Eco is just, it's funny. So when I spray the Eco out, it needs to have enough paint on there so that you don't get those pinholes, right, Steph? Eco need, like all coatings, they need to have enough of the coating so that they all come together and they pool and then lay out, right? You're spraying a bunch of little tiny dots, and you need the dots to all connect into a pool of paint. Eco requires a certain, just like all, but it seems to be more prevalent with Eco, where if you spray it out and there's not enough paint, it will not come together, and you will have these little tiny pinholes that will show up as a sheen inconsistency when the paint dries in a black paint up on a house. Now, if you're spraying white inside of a kitchen and you have a couple of those, the sheen inconsistency will be negligible and no one will care. But when you spray black exterior with the sunlight, the way it hits on a big panel, we ended up having these little, I was like, we did this one section and I was like, it's freaking perfect. We did it. A similar section to the one I posted the final video of. And we came back the next day and there was this one section that had this dusting. It was just pinholed enough where the sheen was not consistent. And the sheen in this paint shows everything. So we have our work cut out for us, but look for us to probably, the weather. I'm going to be tracking dew point and surface temperature. Much different than I've never tracked dew point as it relates to my paint. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll probably have to I got to get some chemists on here, and we got to talk about paint chemistry. But the dew point and the surface temperature, if they are too close together, it's an issue. Someone messaged me that they took flight training school. They got their pilot's license, and when you get your pilot's license, they will tell you the same thing, that when the dew point and the surface temperature are too close together, ice will form on the wing, I guess. And that's kind of what we were running into, is the dew point needs to be at least 5 degrees, I think it's lower than the surface temperature. So we had a very high dew point, and we were spraying in the shade. And so I think our dew point and our surface temperature, we're going to be calculating those before we spray. But I think they were way too close together. And so the paint wasn't actually drying because the dew point was like 65 degrees that day, and we were in the shade, and the surface temperature was probably pretty close to that. I don't know, but it made me go nuts. So that's kind of what we got. The tool I use to measure dew point, that's a good question. Right now I'm going to be trusting the weatherman, but I'm going to probably do some homework on that, and we'll see. So the spray booth, I'm going to have Napoleon on from RGI Spray Booths very soon. He's going to talk in depth about spray booth technology. The guy knows so much, it's a joke. I mean, the guy just knows his stuff. And let me tell you, his team of installers, they drove from California to Rhode Island, which is impressive enough. Absolute special operations. I had my booth put together by another guy, my original booth put together by a team of people who all they do is do it as well. And I can tell you that these guys were on point. They were impressive. And the booth is together. It looks like $1 million. I turned it on for 1 second before I took off. The Ducon 3000. I will check that out, Dino. I will check that out. I have a feeling that he is absolutely full of it, knowing my friend there. But the spray booth looks amazing. We have to dial in. I got to figure out how to set the baking. We can bake. We can set a positive air pressure so we don't have air sucking into the booth, but we have air leaking out of the corners. The doors alone are phenomenal. Wait till you see these things. It's just an impressive looking thing. The air makeup unit is a 400,000 BTU heater. We don't use it for 400,000 BTUs almost ever, except for when we're in a bake cycle. But the capabilities of our booth are just outstanding. So now I got to go sell a bunch of work to fill it. I have some stuff sort of waiting. I've been waiting for it to be finished so I can bring stuff in. But very exciting. The booth is 27 feet long now. We added 3 feet to it. You could 100% fit a car. I think we're going to put a couple boats in there, actually. I believe one of my GCs had a couple boats he wanted us to paint, and we were going to be tough. It was going to be tough to get them in there at 24 feet, but at 27 feet, I think we can fit them. So yeah, 27 feet long, 15 feet wide. You can fit some stuff in there now, which is exciting. You know, we didn't have a lot of space. We were prepping in front of our booth before. Now we have this other side to prep with. So while they were here and they were taking everything apart and taking the doors off, I was like, let's just add 3 feet to it. Like, why not? So we did. Let's get into some questions. Let's start. I don't even know where to start. There's a lot today. I'm so grateful for all your questions. It makes this podcast, it makes me feel less crazy that I'm not just monologuing the whole time. Does anyone listen to Bill Burr's podcast? He does that, and it's phenomenal. So I answered the first question already. Jake asks, is the new booth done? And if yes, how long have you been in there? I think that, yes, how long have you been in there? I'm not sure. I think that was a joke, but I don't get it. Yeah, the booth is done. Yeah, RGI is on here. So we can spray between 50 and 100 degrees and bake between 100 and 155 degrees with a timer to bake. Dude, we're going to make some awesome content. I'm going to show you guys all about it because I am like geeked out to no end Brushworks 417 asks a few questions, but let's start with this first one. What kind of warranty do you offer your customers? That's a great question. Today we do not have a formal warranty. We don't go away. Like, we come fix stuff. But I've never formalized a warranty. I probably should. It wouldn't hurt. Like, we're gonna warranty our stuff for a long time, so I should do it just to have it on paper. But I don't have one. So but it's on the list at some point. I've had a client the other day ask me, and I just essentially was like, we're not going anywhere, and I'm gonna stand by this door. So, that's what I got for you. What are your thoughts on the TriTech tips? I don't have thoughts on them yet. I think we're going to be trying them this week or next. I reached out to them, and John said I could always lease it out for group saunas. Yeah, that would be fun. Come to my shop. We can fit 100 people in there and open your mouths, and we'll kill all the COVID in your mouth because the temperatures will be so high. I think that works, guys. You can take a hair dryer if you have COVID and just blow it in your mouth, and then you don't have COVID anymore. So if you want to do that with a group of people, you can come down to our shop, and we'll turn on the heater. None of that's true, in case you guys are wondering, and I don't think that. What are some apps or programs you use to help you run your business? All right. Ooh, you guys want to hear? I had another great success at the end of the week. It was not nearly for as much money as the check I got from that GC, but what had happened? I lost my debit card for my business checking. So I got the chip stopped working. So I went and I got a new one, and so then all your cards that are on auto pay stop, and you have to redo them. So TSheets, we use TSheets to track our hours. TSheets sends me a notification saying that you need to give us new payment option. Your card was denied. I go in to re-sign up for TSheets with the new number, and it says, thank you, it's $228 for your 28 employees. And I was like, what? I don't have 28 employees. Sure enough, I don't think I did a formal education of TSheets when I got it, and if they did, they sure didn't teach me this. But with TSheets, they charge you per person that uses it. So every employee that I've had, anyone I put into TSheets from the time I got it over a year ago, even if they stopped work, I had 5 people who hadn't worked for us for a year, and every month they've been billing me $8 for those people. So we totaled it up. There was 110 months that were billed for that no one was working in my company. I didn't know you were supposed to archive the people in the app. I know now it won't happen again. But I had to process a refund. The woman was really nice, and she seemed to think it would go through, but she said it's not something that they usually do, which I was going to be like, look, if you don't do this, I will gladly leave TSheets. It's $880 is what they owe me. My payroll company has been offering to do it for us. I don't know how much they're going to charge, but if this company won't go back and credit me to $880, I'm really happy to walk away at this point. I was kind of looking for a reason to move anyway. Because I was seeing the bill come through thinking man, that's a lot of money. I'm paying $230 for TSheets. What the heck? But a lot of things are going on and you don't analyze it. Again, I don't love the numbers of my business, and that's why I got to work on loving the numbers of my business. So that was a nice little catch. My company's leaky like that, and we're going to work to fix the leaks. I'm a very figure out how to go make $1 and stop worrying about the cents. That's my mindset, and I think it is a valuable mindset, but you need to have somebody watching the cents. And right now we don't. And so, there's a number of options for time tracking. So for time tracking right now, I use TSheets. I massively underutilize House Call Pro right now. Steph, you would laugh if you saw how pathetic. It goes back to how I started this whole company with me and a car and a little giant ladder, and like just trying to fake it till I made it and doing anything outwardly to look more professional than I really was. And so I still contend to have that mindset of like, make it look good outwardly and we'll figure it out on the back end. And so the way we use House Call Pro is very much like that. I send estimates through it mostly. I also text a lot of estimates, just a number, like cabinet jobs. People will just like text me pictures of their cabinets and I'll text them a price. And we book jobs like that. And then you get to it and it's like, oh, I don't have this job in House Call Pro. And I gotta like set it up. And then a lot of times those clients, like I don't send them a formal invoice then. I just say like, we take a 50% deposit. And they'll cut me a check for 50% of the number I texted them. It's just, that's not good practice. Like that's, those things, you know, so, but to answer the question, House Call Pro, I've been looking at Estimate Rocket. I did a podcast. I was on their podcast. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But I think there's no question, like if you're first of all, if anyone is writing their estimates and handing them to them, like, man, there's a bunch of options that are better. Yeah, John, I know, John. I know. There's no question. I can't scale the way we are right now. Let me know how Estimate Rocket goes. What other apps do we use? We use Slack very inconsistently, but I'd like to be better at it. But Slack, Chade, you got to change that. It will turn into, I will say add I don't know, whatever you want to add. Add $50 to every estimate that you send out going forward, but do them digitally, and no one will blink. I would argue it's much more than $50 people will spend for a company that's sending digital estimates, just because it makes you look more professional. Not only does it make you look more professional, I'm sure Steph is aware of this. It's annoying you can't do some of the stuff from the app. But let me tell you, I've won jobs because I was able to see when somebody viewed one of my estimates. And there's a number of apps that will do this. But I have a friend who can see how many minutes people spend on each, like he can see where they viewed what page and for how many minutes. If you want to get deep in this, and they all scroll right to the price right away, most of them. But when you submit your proposals, you know what I hate to say? I hate to ever say bids. I don't say I have customers, and I don't say bids. But that's for a whole nother thing. Let's not get sidetracked. The ability to send an estimate digitally gives you the ability to see when it's been viewed, and not just the first time, but multiple times. I like to send proposals to clients. That's how I try to say it. And I honestly don't have a great reason why, but I'll tell you that clients who aren't going to hire us get freaked out when I say proposals. Like they're not our ideal clients. They're like, well, I want a bid. I want a price. Can you give me a price? I'm getting prices. Like, oh man, you're getting 7 prices? Oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to be one of those 7. I'll tell you that. But actually, I would highly encourage everyone to get some sort of a digital way of sending your proposal. Now, I know Nick Slavic does it, but then also prints out a piece of paper on the job site and hands it to the person. He drives around the printer. I think that's brilliant. If you can do it, if you don't have an office team that can get I don't know how you're doing it, but I know a number of big companies who do print it out, especially if they have really well designed sales processes. If it's your first day, follow a bunch of people. Start making content. Don't start sending people messages saying, follow me. Oh my God. That's not the way to make friends. You don't walk up to people and say, will you be my friend? Well, that actually might work better than sending DMs to people saying, follow me. That's not an effective way. Make a lot of good content, add value to people's lives, and they'll follow you back. Sorry, I had to answer that. I know you're a small guy, but don't you? We're in this to make money and to be professional companies and work for great clients. And so it's a cop-out to be writing them by hand at this point. That's just... I don't think you can make a very good argument that it's best practice. I think we can make a lot of arguments why doing your estimates digitally is a better practice. For your bottom line, for your perception, for the optics, for your record keeping, for information later, to be able to see when it was open and how many times. I've had clients view my estimate 26 times. I've had clients view my estimate again a month later, and then I followed up. I don't say I just saw you viewed my estimate again, but I'll be like, oh, I really wonder what happened with that estimate. Go back. Yeah, if you can write cursive really well, maybe you should, but I should never be writing any estimates. Oh my gosh. But even I just don't think that that's the way to do things. If you want to get what you're worth, if you want to get the maximum amount of money for the project, I don't think you can make an argument that handwriting is the way to go. Never mind, it's just way easier, and you have all the records and all of those things. But I was just saying something. No, I don't think. I think a printed out. I think a typed up, printed out, and emailed. That's a competitive advantage in a way. Like that's. I don't hate the idea of printing it out and handing it to somebody. But I despise the idea of handwriting it, honestly. I just don't think that people who want to pay top dollar for things also want to see the proposal come in handwriting. Dude, that is some nostalgic BS right there, my friend. I love it. I know what you're saying. And I think there are some things that are old school AF and classy. But handwriting an estimate, I don't think is one of them. Because if the answer to this is, all right, then print it out. If you're going to handwrite it, stop handwriting it, buy a $100 portable printer and print it out and give it to them. Yes, I think that especially I think there's a lot of evidence. So my friend Jason Phillips from Phillips Home Improvements, that's what they do. They print it out and they go over it, and that he has spent. I'm safe to say, I don't want to blow up his spot, but let's just say he spent a significant, like more money than I did in revenue in a year for many, many years on his sales process. Jason Phillips from Phillips Home Improvements has a sales process that is so well refined, it's unbelievable. The amount of money that has, in time and effort and consultants, that has gone into his sales process, and he has massive amounts of data to back it up. What works, what doesn't, and they are sitting down with the printed out version of it digitally, and then they print it out, going line by line with the client. And then asking them to sign it at the end, which I think if you can get that down is the best way to close. Digital notifications are annoying, but we're not talking about spamming people with digital notifications. We're talking about giving somebody a professional proposal that they can keep in their email and go back to multiple times. And then if you edit the proposal, it's edited for life, unless they saved it and printed it out. But if you want to change something in the proposal, you can change it, and then it's a link that they click on. So then they go back to that link, and your change is there. I think it's important. Okay, Brushworks. Yes, here we go. He said, I measure everything. Trim walls, ceilings, cabinets. I spend an hour to 2 hours measuring, but it seems like homeowners really like to know exactly where their money is going. I think we're in different worlds. John, I'd love to hear what John has to think, and some other people, but I don't think that spending an hour to 2 hours taking measurements is paying off for you. Maybe it is, but my gut is it's not. And that if you were to look at a large amount of data of your estimates, and you were to go in and, I think you go in and you look at the room and let's be real. If you're taking all that data, you can look at it and tell me what's the average cost of a room for you to paint. And which means you could walk into a room and look at it and go, this is a $750 room to repaint. And then at the end of you walk room by room by room, if you want to bring your digital thing and just quickly take laser measurements, fine, as a show. But I'm not so sure that that's helping you sell by spending 2 hours. I think that saying I track all my numbers and I know where my numbers are and I know this is how I arrive. It's part of your sales process. This is how we arrive at a price, and explaining that to them and then getting the data. I don't know, man. I wonder if spending an hour to 2 hours measuring is actually paying off, or if one client might have said something one time and it influenced you. I'm just skeptical. I'd love to hear. I know John does a lot of estimating. I wonder what he thinks. John said, if I win every single job and budget and time is no concern, print out and sell in person, and then lots of follow-up. Yes. I agree totally. If you want your closing ratio to be really high and you're a small company and you can afford to do this, then yes, you print out your estimate, you go over it in detail, and then you continue to make follow-up phone calls. That's a great way to do it. The bigger guys just don't have the ability to do that, I don't think. Your estimator spends 20 minutes and measures everything. All right. Need to sharpen up the time. Yeah, I think, are you using a digital tape measure, if you will? Yeah, John, you don't measure, but my estimator is way better for efficient. But my estimator? John said his estimator is way better for efficiency. My way is more accurate. That's interesting. So you're saying that you walk into a room, you scope it out, you put a price to it. That's more accurate for you, but it's more efficient for you to have somebody else go do the estimate. So you've taught somebody a formulaic way to get to a price. That makes sense. To scale, John scaled to a point where most of us haven't, and he's definitely dealing with different issues. Oh, line itemizing everything on estimates. That's a great one. I've gone back and forth about this. I now try to lump as much together as possible in the price. I would rather, I just don't like, to me it's a red flag if a client's like, can you give me a price for the house that has this all broken down? I'm like, that's huge red flags go off for me today. Now, I will break some things down and we can price things a couple of different ways, but it depends. But I am generally saying, like, I just submitted a bid that I'm going to check my email after this. Fingers crossed. It's a huge proposal for us. I really think we should get it. I hope we get it, but I'm not sure. But I have a line item for the kitchen cabinets, and then a description of what we do, what we're going to be doing, process, what it's going to look like, sort of, and a price. Then I have whole first floor, like being painted. The first floor. That's what it says. And then it says ceilings, this, trim, this, walls, this, and a price. I don't have everything broken out, bullet points, so they can start to pick and choose like an a la carte menu. But I think it depends on your market and what's going on. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these. Turner Painting said, I'm in a unique position in my area with competition and other factors. This is the guy who's writing handwriting. He said, if I want to grow out of my area, though, changes will need to be made. I think that's how it is. We're looking to grow, maybe not size-wise, but our skill set and our capacities and our there's a word that I'm not grasping right now. I think that it's important to always be looking for low-hanging fruit. And if you spend $50 a month or $30 a month, or I think there are many free options to send out your invoice, your estimates and invoices digitally, I think it's going to pay off in spades. It's going to be a great ROI. I think it's very low-hanging fruit. It costs you very little to switch to a digital platform. It's going to keep all your clients' email addresses in one spot now. It'll help you build an email list. When you send invoices, it's not, I don't know how you do it, but now it's like, I saw that you viewed the invoice. Or oftentimes, hey, I think everyone who does it digitally can tell you the number of times they had an email address typed wrong, and you can see it's been a day or 2 days and no one's viewed the estimate. And you follow up, be like, hey, just making sure you saw it. I do that a lot anyway. I'm like, I know they saw it, but I'll follow up anyway. I'm just making sure that you saw the estimate to keep the point of contact going. But if you don't do it digitally, it's harder to know if they got it and when they saw it. Paint Wizards, yes, there are, all of these podcast episodes can be viewed on my Instagram, IGTV. You can go to YouTube, you can watch them a little bit more edited down, so when I'm reading people's stuff and it's ums and ahs, it got out. But if you're driving and you want to listen to this podcast, you can listen to it on Apple iTunes. It's under ZK Live, and it's also on Spotify under ZK Live. I'd appreciate it if you would rate and review us. If you like it or don't like it, let me know what you think. Brushworks said, I have tried doing time materials, and at least where I'm located, anything over $40 people don't want to pay. But if I measure and break everything down, and it comes out to anywhere between $60 to $120. I think that's a great point. I think most of the businesses that I know, most people I know, when they do T&M, they don't do as well as they do estimate-wise because of that exact fact. When I tell people we're $75 an hour time and materials, I'm not getting pushback from my ideal clients anymore, but there are a lot of people who would give me pushback for that. The same people who, if I gave them a hard number that figured in $80 an hour, wouldn't give me that same pushback. Man, I'm going to lose some of these comments and questions. We have 1 minute and 54 seconds left, and I'm super paranoid about this. Can anybody, if anyone has said anything lately, I can't read very fast. I'm bad at reading. Not being more thorough enough. Being thorough on your estimate, I think, is a different thing. Let's talk about being thorough on estimates. I have all the numbers. I will send it out in House Call Pro. Save all the time. Yeah, you can do quotes really quick. All right, guys. My time's about to end. I don't want to lose this, so I'm going to end this, and I'm going to start it right back up, and we'll keep rolling.